The applause thing.
Little sound box. They're fun. Hey, you guys, what's up? What's up, you guys? Johnny Beane here. This is Exclusively Van Halen, the Van Halen show on YouTube. And it is, what? It is Tuesday, we call it. Oh, you ate one Tuesday. Oh, you ate one Tuesday. So let's talk some Van Halen, you guys. Actually, we have a very special guest here. You guys know him. You guys love him. So let's do this, you guys. Here we go.
Hey, this is Michael Anthony right here, and you are watching Exclusively Van Halen on the Johnny Beane TV. Keep it there. Woo! See ya!
Yo, what's up, you guys? Johnny Beane. We got echo. It's okay. Exclusively Van Halen, the Van Halen show. Steve Rosen, TONECHASER.
Johnny Beane.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, everything's going on with you, pal.
Dude, we were talking, in the green room before the show started, and yeah, things are going good, man. Actually, do you even know this? I'm in a brand new studio.
I was kind of noticing that, man. I see that beautiful book up on the shelf.
You see this? Yeah. Look at that, man.
What a beautiful box that is. Look at that. What kind of a guy would do something like that, man? Some creative arty type. Wow.
There you go. There he is, right there.
There you go.
Very nice. You got some nice stuff back there behind you too, man.
Yeah, so this is my room. Obviously I have my little camera on my computer, and these are the pictures behind me. But the real wall is sort of out in the front room. That's kind of the Van Halen wall.
Wow.
Some cool stuff. But there's some cool stuff here. Hard to figure it out. So there's Richie. And there's Glenn Hughes, and there's White Snake, and that's Martin Barr. Sorry, it's hard to go backwards. That's up in the corner there is Tom Scott. That's Dwayne Eddy down there. Yeah, we're in some good company here for sure.
Very nice. I saw Dwayne Eddy play at the NAMM show one year.
Wow.
At the Gretsch booth. It was really cool.
That's unbelievable. A quick Dwayne Eddy story. So, Edward used to come over, and as you can see, this wall, when I was living on Weepaw, famous Weepaw Way that you've all read about in TONECHASER, all the walls were covered like this. I just, I just like having the pictures up. Really, not for myself so much. I just love when people would come over and they look at a picture and they go, "Oh, who's that?" I go, "Oh, that's Steve Perry." "Oh, Steve Perry." I don't know, man. That felt good. That would trigger kind of memories in them, and I tell them my little Steve Perry stories. So Edward's over one day, and we're looking at stuff, and I'm trying to see if the Dwayne Eddy photo is in here somewhere. I think it's in the other room. So we're looking, and he goes, "Oh, who's that?" And I go, "That's Dwayne Eddy." And he goes, "Who?" And I think I write about it in the book. I go, "It's Dwayne Eddy," and he had never heard of Dwayne Eddy. And in and of itself, it's like, okay, there was no reason he would, which sort of ties into that other chapter that I wrote about, that Ed knew what he knew, and he loved what he loved, but I don't think he really strayed too far outside of those boundaries. So for him to have listened to Dwayne Eddy, even though Dwayne, if you think about it, man, he was doing like that the hollow body Gretsch stuff and the low string stuff, which probably maybe led to people like the surf guitar player left-handed guy. Sorry, I'm flipping.
Yeah, I know. I live in Santa Cruz. I should know.
Oh, you should really know.
I should really know.
Mr. Lou and
Dick Dale. Dick Dale.
And really, just think about it, man. What those guys were doing, you know, and Dick Dale with the Strat and the reverb and stuff. Anyway, it was just odd that Edward had no clue who it was. I mean, again, not that he should, but then later on, we were talking, and again, another chapter. I think I called it Van Halen on vinyl, and I let Ed look through my album collection. I had a massive album collection. I mean, massive. And so I was pulling out stuff that I thought he would, you know, dig. He'd go home and listen to, and maybe get something out of it, you know. And I pulled out a Les Paul record, and he had heard of Les Paul, but only marginally. I mean, he really didn't know about Les either. And I thought, okay, you know. Ultimately, Edward and Les met, and you know that was an amazing night. But it was just funny. He knew some stuff that was fairly deep dive stuff. You know, he knew some prog stuff. But other people you thought that he would have heard of, like Larry Carlton or those kinds of guys, he just didn't know. Obviously, he knew Clapton, so I thought, oh, well, he'd dig some, you know, let's dig back that way a little bit, you know, and look at some of those guitar players, or you know, Mike Bloomfield, some of the American guitar players and stuff. And he just didn't know, and he didn't particularly care to know, which is maybe what made Edward, right? So,
yeah,
because I just thought it was pretty intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah,
amazing stuff. Hey, you guys, we see you guys in the chat, and real quickly before we continue, let's say hello to the top tier of channel members here on Johnny Beane YouTube. Channel membership, it's a great way to help support the channel and support these shows. And the top tier are the executive producers. They are Michael B, and they are also Bay Area Rich. Bay Area Rich, I had no idea that you were a top tier member. I need to add those names to this list. So Michael B, Bay Area Rich, Sherman Callahan, CC, Nova 9, Michael Smith, Music Therapy Laz, R-Habs, Warlag, Fairfield Guitar Co., Majestic PB and J-Cat, and Janice Lala the Intern. Those are the top tier of channel members here on the Johnny Beane YouTube channel. So if you'd like your name in green in the chat, if you'd like special emojis that only you can use, like emojis of my cat. I know you have cats. I heard a cat on one of your videos. Was it the one today, I think?
There was a cat in one of my videos?
The one where you talked about the bookstore in San Francisco.
Overdub made an appearance?
Yeah. Yep.
Do I have to pay him for like a walk-on or something?
Yep.
Yeah. That's funny. I had no idea.
Yeah. Cats are awesome, man.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, you guys. Let's see. We got, real quickly, we got Charles. We got Alex. We got Lewis. We got Raymond. Uncle Raymond is here. We got Sean. We got, let's see, Music Therapy Laz. You know Laz. You met him. We drove down for your Book Soup event.
Of course. Hello, buddy.
When it was pouring rain that
Pouring
time.
rain. Torrential end of the world rain.
Yeah. T Fetch is here. Janice the Intern is here. Says, wow, Dwayne Eddy. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just legends. You know? And it's, I mean, Steve, it's just incredible that you've had this life where you've interviewed these people, you've written articles, stories on these people, and like, you know, like with Van Halen, with Edward Van Halen, I've read all your interviews, you know, when I was a kid, and then now, you know, to know you and to talk about this stuff, you know, face to face. I mean, it's unbelievable. You know, that
is so cool. So strictly academically speaking, so you read my interviews way back in the day. I mean, did you?
Oh yeah, the Guitar Worlds. Yeah.
I mean, what did you really think of them? I really asked the question honestly because I can never know what a reader's reaction is, right? I can, you know, I try to do the best job I possibly can, and especially with the book, but I can't know what a reader is going to feel in the same way that an artist will never know what a fan feels when he listens to the music. I mean, you can't do it, right? Because he's he's on the other side of it. So, I mean, when you were reading it, it was like, oh, this is cool, or, oh, I didn't know that, or, I mean, I'm just wondering, you know, I realize we're probably going back a few years here, but, you know, what those moments were like, or like when you got like a new issue and Ed was on the cover and maybe it was my story or something. And that must have been pretty cool, right?
Specifically the July '85 cover, The Life and Times of Edward Van Halen, that one, and then there was the cover with Stevie Ray Vaughan, where it's you and Edward, where you guys go to NAMM in New Orleans.
Right.
You know, that one, and there was other ones. There was the Rock Walk one, the Guitar Center, the handprints, you know. Yeah, there was that one. And I mean, just back in the day, it was like reading these stories from what really it felt like a writer that was also a fan, you know, and got to tag along and have these just amazing adventures. And then, you know, of course, years later, you know, we go to the NAMM show together.
Yeah.
And like I told you, you know, this was a couple of years ago. You know, we were trying to find Dean guitars, and we got stuck on the stairs, got lost, and I felt like I was right. You know, it was right out of a Steve Rosen article.
Yeah, that's so funny.
It was cool.
Yeah, you know, man, because when I hear you guys talk about them, and people, you know, maybe have gotten the book and they'll say, oh, hey, man, I read your articles, you know, back in Guitar World and this and that, man. I mean, I relive that too, you know. I mean, I can, you know, remember, you know, going with Edward to New Orleans and being there with him at the NAMM show. And I knew those moments in time were important. You know, I mean, I knew when I was in it, I'm going, one, I said to myself, it will never get any more unbelievable than this. I mean, you're here with Edward Van Halen and NAMM show. It's never going to be better than that, you know, on some levels. And I also had the feeling that, you know, the journalist in me, you need to remember this, man. You need to record this and write this down. So when I came back, I wanted to do more of like a Hunter Thompson Fear and Loathing, insert myself into it, which you're never supposed to do as a journalist, because the reader really doesn't care what you think. You know, they just want to hear from the artist, and they want to hear the story. But I thought, how do I divorce myself from that experience? I mean, it's me. I'm there. I'm you know. So I wrote that story, and I thought for sure Guitar World was going to say, no, this is ridiculous. You can't write this. You know, I mean, you know, again, I write about driving over in my tender blue Mazda Miata, you know, Miata RX-7, sorry, you know, and it's like, you can't say stupid things like that. Who cares, you know? But it was part of the whole experience, you know. I wanted the reader, man, to be right there inside of it, like you are in a Hunter Thompson story.
Yeah.
Here in Vegas. And that story, I mean, people love that story. And it was amazing. So yeah, so hearing people saying that they've read my stuff, you know, and that, you know, resonated with them, and some people will, you know, take a picture of the cover of the, you know, the July '85 issue or something, you know, and send it to them. It's like, that's just the greatest for me, you know, because I've always loved that connection with the reader. You know, without the reader, you know, a writer is nothing. So that was always important to me, man. You know, going back to those stories for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it always felt like, you know, especially being a kid. And at the time, I lived in Nebraska. So I lived a million miles away from California, which seemed like, you know, the place to be, you know, and just to read, I mean, those, you know, with you, you know, with the article saying, you know, oh, I drove over, you know, or I woke up and I called and nobody answered and I started to panic. Oh no, did you already leave? You know, it really put you, like, you can really envision, you know, you're, you know, being you, you know?
Yeah. You know, maybe in a way, I mean, certainly I never thought about it at the time, though. So that's July '85. I hadn't yet asked Edward about writing that authorized biography yet, but you know, I wonder if in the back of my mind, I mean, that was sort of an experiment. You know, what if I did a book, and what if I wrote it like this, you know, where I was part of the story, you know, which is what TONECHASER ultimately became. So in a way, that was maybe like a first step. Though that book, if it had happened, the original book would have been entirely different. I think it would have been really primarily just the interviews with Edward, and maybe a little bit of narrative connecting tissue. And I would have played a real isolated role in it, I think. I mean, that's looking back on it now. But yeah.
But it wouldn't have been like, it wouldn't have been the same, you know? I mean, like I said, you know, especially, you know, reading the stuff as a kid, as like a brand new fan of the, you know, Van Halen. I had just got into Van Halen like in 1985, like around the time all that stuff happened. So I didn't read the stuff till maybe 3 years later, maybe 88, you know, 88 era, 89 era. That's really where I dug back and got those issues and was reading those and just like I said, it's really, it put you right into the, like you were there at the NAMM show, or like you were there, you know, on Bourbon Street and Eddie peeking in and hearing a band play Jump or whatever. And, and you were there, you got to, you know, to live that stuff. And it's,
it was, I was lucky. I never discount luck. Sometimes, you know, you'd rather be lucky than good, though it helps to be a little bit good, right? But, you know, when I started writing, that was the salad days of rock journalism, right? The 70s there, you know, guitar players just getting going. I think their first issue was, I can never remember, 69 or 70, 71. I mean, they don't go back that far, right? Guitar World didn't exist. I don't even know I think Cream and Circus were probably around. But you know, all these music magazines were springing up, and they all required freelance writers. You know, staffs couldn't do it all, and so you were a freelance writer, and hey, I can write. I know about Aerosmith. I can write a story, and you know.
So that's how that worked back then, or it may be even now to an extent, maybe online. So those magazines would say contact you or say, hey, do you have a story about this, or they had a number of people that they would send out, you know, to cover an event or a story. Right. So
initially it's you sort of establishing yourself. So, you know, you have to make yourself known to them, and it's like a stepladder. So, you know, I did a couple of small stories, and I write about it. One was for the LA Star. It was like a softcore, I say porn, it really wasn't porn. It was one of those newsprint, you know, publications. You know, you'd get them out of the 25-cent vending machine. I mean, they weren't even good enough to be in a bookstore or in a outdoor magazine rack, you know. So you put in your quarter and you'd open it up and you take it out, you know, and you'd immediately just flip the back page to look for the massage hands, right? That's what you were buying the LA Star for. You weren't buying it to find any intuitive, insightful music, you know.
For the articles.
Exactly. You were looking at it for the picture. And so I got a couple things in there. And then you kind of use that. It's like, well, you know, I approach Cream and Circus. Hey, I had something on the LA Star, which they never heard of. I mean, hell, for that matter, I could have made it up, you know. You know, and you say, hey, you know, I'd like to do a story on this and that. And they go, no, you know, no. Or you'd send them a clip. Hey, can you use this? They go, no, not really. And I was so dumb, you know. I would send up live reviews to because I couldn't do any interviews. You can only do an interview once you're sort of an established journalist, and you can only become an established journalist when you have the interview. So it was kind of that vicious circle. So, but I could do live reviews. You know, I could go buy a ticket and go review a show, and that's what I did for the LA Star. It was, I remember clearly, it was West Brisson Lang and T-Rex, 2 shows, and they printed both of them. And I thought, oh my God, my career is made.
Wow.
And, I'm going to go knock on Rolling Stone's door, and they're going to say, sure, what do you want to do, pal? And it didn't quite work that way. But, at least I had something. And then you just reach out to the next magazine, and so I would send out a live review. I send live reviews to Cream, Circus, Guitar Player, and they'll wrote back, goes, we don't run live reviews. It's like, okay, well, that's a good start. Not only do they not read it, they don't even look at it because they don't run that kind of a story. All right, let me rethink this, And, youth is crazy. Youth is obstinate. You keep knocking on doors and you send out stuff. And I had it was a live review, KGB, which is like a San Diego station, which is about 120 miles south of where I was living in Hollywood. KGB, the radio station, had put on a big outdoor show. And I got passes, and I went and reviewed the show, and a very cool newspaper called the LA Free Press, which is a very hip kind of an underground, it was real political, and there was actually an LA Free Press bookstore. They had all the psychedelic posters, and incense, and I just thought it was so great. They had like Charles Bukowski books, and it was like, oh my God, this is so great. They sold the Free Press, and so the music editor there printed a story, $20. I thought, I can die tomorrow, man. I've been paid. I'm a professional. That's all I need to know. So then, you use that, and I write about her in the book. My dear friend Lydia Woltag, who worked at a company called Gibson and Stromberg. They were like the first, and I think at the time only, rock and roll publicist. They handled the Stones and Steely Dan and Dr. Hook, Jeff Beck, Hurricane Smith, who hung out with the Beatles. I think he engineered some of their stuff, actually. So they had all these bands. A lot of them I didn't really care about, but they had some I did care about. So it was like this real community thing. Hey, go and do a story on Dr. Hook, right? The cover of Rolling Stone. I really didn't care about that band, but we'll hook you up with Steely Dan. It's like, that's fair enough, There
you go.
They actually opened the door for me to Guitar Player, and they handled Jeff Beck. So I go and interview Jeff Beck. I send it to Guitar Player. They love this story, and that's how the Guitar Player thing happens. And then once you're in Guitar Player, anybody who played guitar wanted to be in Guitar Player magazine in the 70s, right? It was so all those doors opened, and so at that point in time, yes, magazines will call you. Guitar Player say, hey, Joe Walsh is going to be in town. We need a story, or Kramer Circus or Musician. There was a bunch of magazines I was writing for at the time, and that's how it happened. And of course, you'd still reach out and you'd stay in contact. But again, it was a real sense of a community. Everybody, the publicists and management realized they needed writers. Writers certainly needed the management and the record label publicists. What is different today is, there's still some magazines, but I think to be a freelance music journalist today, I think it would be just about impossible. Most of that stuff is done in-house. The magazines no longer have budgets, right? The subscriptions go down. And I just put up that post, Guitar Player is going to stop publishing at the end of the year. That's a sign of the times. So it's just different. It's all online stuff. Most of that stuff, they'll say, yeah, we would love to use your stuff, and we'll give you a byline. We're not going to pay you, but we'll put your article up there. And I'm sure journalists, that's what they run into. So it's tough. It's just real different. So I was lucky, to have, started a career that was happening when all these music magazines were just coming of age.
It was a brand new. It was a new thing.
Yeah, it was.
And you're a part of that. The history of the print. Yeah, talking about Guitar Player. Yeah. So it's the print that's going away, but it'll still be online. But
that's a good question. I think so. That cost them, I guess, nothing really to. I suppose it cost them some money, but nothing like publishing a print magazine. So Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll probably still remain online.
Yeah. I've noticed they've gotten thinner and thinner over the years.
Yeah, they all do, man. I wrote for a Japanese magazine, which is probably the Japanese equivalent of Guitar Player, called
Uh-huh.
Player.
Player.
And
Yeah.
yeah, right. I actually began writing for them, I think, in 1974. Guitar Player sends me this check. It says reprint for, I forget which story it was. Could have been Jeff Beck. It was like a $25 reprint check for Player magazine. And then they sent me another one, and I'm going, what is that? Somehow I got a hold of Player's address, right? This is before internet. There's no email. I wasn't
Mhm.
about to call them, you know.
Mhm.
So I probably sent them a letter. Go, hi, I'm Steve Rosen, and you've reprinted some of my stories, and I'd like to write for you directly. And they wrote back, go, yes, we'd love that, So what I did was, the stories that I was doing for a Guitar Player, I also sent a Player. Well, I wasn't supposed to be doing that.
Oh.
Ostensibly, and though I never signed a contract, Guitar Player said, we own the rights to that story. I never, look, I shouldn't say never. If I did sign a contract, I have no memory of it. So, it's, kind of conscious, I forgot. But, so for me to do that was not right. I mean, it wasn't illegal. It just wasn't, I shouldn't have been doing it, So I remember getting a letter one day, hey, we see that you're, sending stuff to Player, and you shouldn't be doing that, So I kind of scrambled. Oh, I didn't know. I'll stop doing it. I think what I did at that point, I think I tried to rewrite those stories a little bit, or tried to masquerade them a little bit. By then, I was able to go out and do interviews on my own, separate from Guitar Player, and I was able to send stuff to Player. But talking about getting thinner, Player used to be, I swear, it was unbelievable. The paper, the quality, what Japanese publications were like. The photographs, I mean, it was beautiful. And over the years, I could see it. Even as I was writing for them, they got smaller and smaller. And then I think probably, God, I don't know how long ago it was. It could have been 20 years ago, maybe even more. They said, hey, listen, we just can't afford freelancers anymore. Rock is kind of dead in Japan. Now it's all these Japanese bands. I don't even know what style they do, but all these Japanese bands were now on the cover instead of all the guitar heroes or Whitesnake or, Aerosmith, who would have normally been on the covers. But yeah, man, I think probably affected magazines everywhere. In fact, I'm sure it did. So
yeah,
sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, magazines are still out there. I stopped by Barnes. I stopped by Barnes and Noble a lot, and they still have the newsstand section, and you can get there's lots of magazines, music magazine, I mean, all that, but
they're expensive.
They're expensive, but
they still are there.
But the two the two big ones for us guitar players, Guitar World, Guitar Player.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're tough to find. Like they're like let's say Wolfgang Van Halen is on a cover of Guitar World, Back in the day, it's like, oh, I was able to buy 10 copies. Nowadays, it's actually tough to find those like in person.
Huh. Interesting.
They're harder to find, just stocked somewhere.
I think I know Guitar World was bought by a huge English publishing company called Future, who also own Classic Rock. It was an amazing magazine. And probably some other huge titles, music, and other, car mags and flower magazines. And I think they may have also bought Guitar Player. I'm not sure. But even Guitar World couldn't afford to, remain being published by whoever was publishing them. I forget. Harris Publications. Hard to remember. But, so they ultimately got sold to, Future. So, yeah.
So, yeah, it's a weird thing, but it's a sign of the times, though, with the internet. I mean, everything's online now.
It is.
Facebook. You're on Facebook.
Barely. I'll tell you, man, there are people that they can just maneuver it through it so seamlessly. Like today, you sent me a message. Oh, let's get together. You know, it's like, what the hell is he talking about? Where did he send the message? I don't know who he is. I don't know where it is. I'm looking. I go to Facebook. I look on Instagram. I look at my messages. I honestly, I never, I don't get it. I don't understand why Facebook is so obtuse. It's like I never know who I'm following. I never know who's seeing it. I never know where to respond. I don't get it. I don't get it.
It's gotten to the point with me too where I tell people, hey, if you really want to get a hold of me, like there's a phone number on the screen there. Don't DM me on most places because 9 times out of 10 I'll never see it.
Yeah,
because I'm sure you can agree. We get messages all the time from people or comments all the time. Like it's impossible to see like a lot of stuff.
I know, exactly. You know, so I've been selling some Van Halen memorabilia, and as you mentioned, I have it on my Facebook page. So I have 2 Facebook pages, and how that even happened, I don't have a clue. So one is basically the TONECHASER Van Halen.
I helped you with one of them. I remember that.
That's right.
TONECHASER. I helped you create the TONECHASER page.
Yeah. And when they were going to shut me down, and you helped me through that.
Yeah.
Somehow I had to. Oh my God, what a nightmare that was!
Remember, you were saying something weird was going on, and
I had no idea.
And we walked through it together. That was a long time ago.
My man, long time ago.
Yeah.
And somehow I have another one, which is more like I call it personal. Basically, it's everything non-Van Halen. So. The Guitar Player, Death of Guitar Player magazine, and any story, a Bad Company story or something, we'll go there. How I even got that one, I don't know, because I can't imagine that I put it up. Somebody must have helped me. So when I put up the Van Halen stuff, I'll say, contact me here, because I'm afraid if I don't do that, I don't know where people will contact me. But that's exactly what happens. So the only way I can see that is if I go through, and I will put up on any given day, I don't know, man. Today I put up, I don't know, 10 or 12, 15 laminates and 4 or 5. So there's like 20 separate posts. And if somebody wants this laminate, I will have to look there. And I just don't do it because I don't know that I'm supposed to do it. That's why I also put, so please, preferably contact me on email, and nobody does that. For me, email is everything. It's just so much easier to maneuver. People say, oh no, you need to text. I still don't get the difference between a text and an email. Why a text is so much easier. So, you're on a text, and you're on your phone, and yes, it goes right there. So an email, you got to press on your email folder to open it up. I know people are going to scream bloody murder. Rosen, you go back to the Stone Age. I get it. Hey, you want to buy a Van Halen laminate for a cheap price, you contact me on eBay, people. But seriously, man, Instagram, oh my God. My friend Chris Bello helps me with Instagram. God bless him. He puts stuff up there. My friend Adam Roach helps me put stuff up on YouTube.
He's here. Adam's here, right? He's right here.
Oh, there he is. Oh my God, you believe that? Adam from down under. He woke up to be with us. Actually, I think he's just going to sleep in a couple hours. But yeah, man. So it is, and then people will write, and then somehow I'll see. I wrote to you, on a DM or whatever it's called. I don't even know what DM stands for.
Direct message.
Oh my God! Direct where?
Yeah, I know. That's the problem.
Oh my!
Who knows?
God.
Who knows where anything goes? The internet is a series of tubes, right? You know that.
A series of tubes.
That's the joke.
Oh, I gotcha. Exactly. Oh man! And then some people. Kids who grew up on it. It's a second language to them. And yet they probably couldn't.
It's a first language of abbreviations
Yeah, man.
and texting and yeah, I'll tell you, that phone number that I have right there where it says text us,
Yeah.
that number and my emails go to like the same place. So it's all like similar, but you get different sounds that go off on my phone. So I can tell the difference between a text tone and an email tone, but, and I love all this stuff, I mean, I've got this card that I show all the time. Like I'm everywhere there is, I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Lemonade. I don't even know what that is, but I'm there. TikTok is like amazing. But if you guys want to get a hold of me via direct message on any of that stuff, like I said, it can get buried quick, and I apologize if people try to just keep trying. The old, keep trying, keep messaging. But it's a weird world that we're in now with
it's
all this
unbelievable.
stuff. But if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't know each other though. So
no, you're absolutely right. You wouldn't have a podcast, and
yeah.
I may have sold 25 copies of a book, right? So what would I have done pre-internet? I would have, saved up my pennies and bought an ad in the back of Guitar Player and Guitar World, and hope people look at the ads to,
which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your feelings about? I mean, this isn't going to show up on TikTok, is it?
This? I mean, it could. I'd have to get my intern to do it, which is me and Janice. TikTok's awesome. TikTok, I know you've probably heard all about, how weird it is and all that stuff. Truthfully, the whole internet is weird just in general. It's like as soon as you sign up for an account somewhere, your info's out there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but truthfully, as far as like all the social platforms, like TikTok was really the game changer as far as like pretty much what they call doom scrolling, what they call, opening up your phone and just swiping, watching 5 seconds of this, 5 seconds of that, 5 seconds of that. And after an hour, you have no memory of what you just did, but you just saw everything.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
But it's great. But it's awesome. Are you on TikTok?
No, I mean, should I be? I mean, would they even? They allow Van Halen on TikTok? Can I put
Van Halen's huge on TikTok. Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
You help me do something?
Sure.
Do some crazy thing, and I'll toss memorabilia in the air and in front of all my books and stuff, or something weird, or.
You got to dance though.
Oh,
you're a good dancer.
I'm the horrific dancer. Very bad. But I know some people who can dance. I'll go find a dancer.
You'll be at NAMM, right? January.
I will be.
I'll see you there, and we'll talk about it. We'll do a TikTok.
Okay.
We'll do. It's so much fun. It really is, and it's not. Yeah, it's not so weird. It's basically just like, imagine like what we're doing here. Imagine just like taking like literally a 15-second clip of like this.
Yeah.
And it's on TikTok, and it gets like thousands and thousands of views. That's basically what that is. Basically.
And that would and you can sell books that way?
Sure. Yep. You can try. I mean, the internet, like I said, it's a weird place, but you can definitely, promotion. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I promote.
Yeah.
I promote, my shows and stuff, and yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same people, a lot of different people, and like, you're on Instagram, and I first joined Instagram in 2011. So I've been on there for a long time. I'm going on 19 years of YouTube.
Wow.
That seems like a while, and it kind of is. But I remember years ago, because real quickly, we'll say this, and then we can look at some of your memorabilia. So back in 2008, 2009, I do some Van Halen little trick videos. Like, here's how you do this. Some of those videos went on to get hundreds of thousands of hits, like
Wow.
all the time. People still 1,000 views every month, all the time. So by the time TikTok or Instagram rolls around and I join that, people start saying to me, "Hey, I know you from YouTube. I watched your video. Or I learned how to do that horse whammy bar sound from your YouTube video," right? So that would be like on Instagram. And then basically you got to think of it like all these platforms, they're the same. It's all the same thing. It's just, the TikToks and the Instagrams maybe are just like bite-sized versions of like a longer video.
Yeah.
Or like, you can post stuff and it's fun, but it is a lot of work. And that's something some people don't get is social media. And you're seeing this now with posting on Facebook and it can be overwhelming. Yeah. Like, we were talking earlier and responding to this and that. And like I said, it's to the point where with some of us, it's almost impossible to respond to everybody. But we appreciate everybody that contacts us and likes and shares and all that stuff. But it's the world we live in today. It's a totally different world than picking up a phone and just calling somebody. See, that's what texting is. Texting is a way to message somebody instantly. And if you're hip to that, like your phone, like I texted you twice today and you didn't respond. So
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Texting is
there it is right there.
Is the future. Like, hey man, yeah.
Yeah, but only if the dickhead on the other end looks at his phone every hour. Because I don't have any sounds come up.
Oh.
The only thing I do is I have a phone ring, which is the old-time phone, and everybody else has the same one, so I never even know if it's mine or somebody. Yeah,
you have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Is it an iPhone? Yeah. Yeah. We'll look at it at NAM. We'll go over TikTok. I'll show you how to text. It's hip. It's pretty good.
I don't get it, man. I didn't get it. I don't think this internet thing's going to work out.
They need to print magazines again.
Exactly. Give me a typewriter and a pencil. Right? I never missed any phone calls back in the day.
Taylor Swift made a joke about that on one of her latest songs about a typewriter, Like who uses one of her lyrics is who uses a typewriter anyway. That's one of her lyrics, So let's see.
She just became the biggest or the richest female rock and roll. I don't know if it's in history. I don't know if it's history or currently. Like 1.3 billion or 5 billion or something. Or
she's the biggest entertainer. Everything there ever was, everything there is, everything.
And that is absolutely a function of what we're talking about. You would not have earned $1 billion. The Beatles never came close. Well, maybe they did over the course of all those years and selling all those albums. McCartney.
Years later.
But in 70 or 80 or 90, before internet, I doubt if there was $1 billion entertainer.
She can release a song. She can drop a song right now, and it'll get more plays than your favorite artist back in the day they ever did ever.
I know.
It's unbelievable to think.
I know.
And
she's a master of the social media thing. It's funny, and I mean no disrespect to her, because I don't want Kelsey knocking on my door and keep kicking the shit out of me. I've never heard one song that she's done. You know, I mean, I've heard bits and pieces. Look, she's obviously very talented, but yeah, God bless her. You know, seems like a decent human being. So good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love all music. I'll admit it. I've got her albums, you know. I listen to them.
Yeah, no, again, I've heard bits and pieces, and they're incredibly well done. I mean, her band is amazing. And in fact, I had somebody said, "Hey, I know Taylor Swift's guitar player. You want to try to get a book to him?" I go, "Are you kidding?" Yeah, and Taylor puts a copy of TONECHASER up on her website, and I sell 800 million copies the next day. No, I don't want that, man. And I forget his name, and I'm embarrassed.
Paul
Sidoti.
Paul Sidoti. Yeah, I've met him. I see him at NAMM. Yeah.
Really? Wow. Maybe he'll be there. And maybe you and I even talked about him. But the guy is an amazing guitar player. Mark Dunn. I think you know that name too. I think you commented. I had Mark Dunn's picture up there. I think you knew him, Johnny. Maybe not.
Maybe. Yeah.
Mark used to play much later, not the original, but he played with like Peter Noon, who was Herman's Hermit. You know, much later, obviously not with the Herman's Hermits, but you know, Peter did solo careers. And Paul Revere, Mark Lindsay, the singer from Paul Revere, and Gary Lewis from Gary Lewis and the Players. I love that music. I mean, to this day, those Paul Revere and the Raiders songs are the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life. So somehow I reached out to him. He goes, "Oh yeah, I played in all these bands." I go, "Oh my God, that's amazing!" And hey, Paul, what's his name? Paul Sidoti.
Paul Sidoti.
Paul Sidoti.
He's a massive Van Halen fan. He's a massive Van Halen. He actually plays EVH gear guitars. So he actually plays Eddie's brand of guitars on stage. Here's the thing. Some guy, because anytime because you know me, I love all different kinds of music, you know, and if I mention Taylor Swift on here, some people get mad at me. Some people are like, "Hey, this is a Van Halen show. What are you talking about that?" I'm like, "Well, did you know her guitar player plays EVH gear on stage?"
Yeah. And
the person, won't even, they're gone. Yeah. They're gone, right? So, I mean, just imagine, she's playing, sold out stadiums multiple nights. Did you see the show she did in, was it in Germany? Sold out a stadium, and there was literally 15,000 people up on the hill listening that couldn't even get into the show. 15,000, something like that. So imagine her guitar player, Paul, he's out on stage playing one of these. He's on stage playing this. An entire generation that have no idea who Van Halen is, they're seeing this on stage.
Yeah.
And some of them, they might put two and two together and realize, oh, that's Van Halen. Check out Van Halen. So you guys that are like, bah humbug. I mean, Steve will tell you, he knows this. The music business, entertainment business, it's such a small world. Everything is connected. Everybody knows everybody. And it's really, if you like it, cool. If you don't, cool, whatever. But always have an open mind about everything, especially if you're a musician. Like the last thing you want is to be known as, oh, that guy only does this. Well, then be hard to get a gig. Or as a writer, you gotta have, be open to, you can have the things you like, but be open, because you never know where that door is going to take you.
Absolutely. And he is, look, you're playing in Taylor Swift's band. You are an unbelievable guitar player, right? Mm-hmm. Playing that stuff and in a big ensemble band like that. I mean, come on, man.
It's a production.
Band,
it's a major production.
Justin DeRico, you were an amazing player. Yeah, he's a big Van Halen guy. And I reached out to him. He emailed me like, email people. This is the guitar player for Taylor Swift. Not text. Not any of that ridiculous stuff that Johnny's telling you about. Email people. And he emails like an hour later. He goes, yeah, man, I'd love to get a book. So I sent him a book. And, I don't want to harangue him. But, I know he'll read the book, and I think he'll really love the book. And, when he has a moment, I think he'll post about it and talk about Ed. Yeah, because Ed, on the other side of that, yeah, Ed Ed reached everybody, right? Ed reached every kind of guitar player. And certainly we know about all the metal guys who loved him and the alt guys, but yeah, they're guys in bands that you would never think would have been Van Halen fans, who love him and have been highly influenced by him. And in fact, that's what I try to do, really. Is not just reach out to the obvious guys. I mean, they're all great players, but guys who are maybe just a little outside, and like Mark Dunn. I mean, it's like I didn't know who Mark Dunn was, to be honest with you. And then I heard that he played with all these classic '60s bands, but he was a big Van Halen guy. I love that kind of stuff. The guitar player from the Kentucky Headhunters, is a big Van Halen fan. So I love when you get guys like that, and they put up a little picture and talk about what Edward meant to them. Yeah, to me that's very cool. Shows what a huge shadow Edward did cast, right?
I just saw a post today. I have a selfie I took with Paul like years ago. I'm trying to find it to show you if I can find it, but I saw a post today about like a guitar pedal, and there was they were talking about the band Muse. Have you ever heard of them? And the guitar player in Muse, right? He's playing. I looked and I'm like, wait a minute, that's an Eddie Van Halen PV Wolfgang he's playing, but it's wrapped in duct tape around the sides of it, so it was kind of hard to tell what it was. But I could tell it because the headstock and everything. And it's like there is another thing, Muse. Yeah. Their fans listen to Van Halen? Probably really not. But here's the guy playing a Van Halen guitar.
Exactly. And I know who that is, Matt Bellamy. I know that guitar player.
Yes.
They're a great band. And I would love to get a book to Matt Bellamy. Some of these guys are just impossible to find. There's no contact, and there's not even a management address. But on any given day, if these guys knew that I was trying to reach up, maybe, or they heard about the book, they'd be into it. But yeah, it's amazing. All those kinds of guys.
Edward Van Halen reached more people than the hardcore fans realize.
Absolutely.
He really did. He really.
I have always maintained and will maintain that he was the most influential guitar player who ever lived, which is basically what you said. I think that he touched, and I'm not talking about album sales, even though they sold a ridiculous amount of records. He was the most influential. My favorite guitar player of all time is Jeff Beck. Edward's in the top 5. Hendrix is very close to being the most influential. The reason that I believe that Edward is, again, is that crossover from, they sort of grew up in the analog era, and then they were also in the digital era. So they were on online and on the internet. Jimmy never had that, right? The Beatles never had that. So you think that the capability of reaching people is 100 times, 1,000 times. Reaching 10 million people with a video or a song is not impossible. It was really impossible back in the day because you'd have to sell those records, or some radio station might have reached 100,000 people. But that's why I think he is. Obviously, all the musicality and everything else, but strictly from being an influential guitar player, I think he was the biggest who's ever lived. Yeah.
And with Edward, he reached not just guitar, but I'll admit it, when I was a kid, if there was a new photo that showed up in People magazine, oh, here's Eddie Van Halen at the premiere of Batman, in 1989, and he's wearing like a certain coat or had a certain hairstyle.
Yeah.
Hey, I need that coat. I need to have my hair like that.
Yeah. That
was me back then.
Yeah.
Now I just look like this.
You and me, pal. Yeah, he had. I remember the first time. So it's July '77. I'm at the Whiskey, and I'm ushered upstairs by my friend Michelle Meyer, who booked the club. Hey, you gotta meet this guitar player, And we walk up into the dressing room, and I see this guy standing there. And the second thing I noticed, he was smoking a cigarette. But the second thing was, my God, he's got the greatest hair I've ever seen. He just, you know, and he had that, you know, and he wasn't dressed particularly consciously fashionable. It's just that, have you ever seen a bad photo of him? I'm not talking about later when he got a little rough and he was going through stuff. But my God, every single, it was a T-shirt or some jacket or pants. My God, his clothes just fit him so impeccably. You know, and he had that amazing hair and cheekbone. I mean, the guy was an amazing looking guy. Yeah, you think, well, what if he had weighed 280 pounds and, you know, didn't look like that? I mean, it's an impossible question to ask. I think he still would have been huge, you know, but I don't know. It's part of being a rock and roll guitar player. I mean, you know, he just had it, you know, just big time.
There was a lot of guitar players in the 80s. You know, he was definitely the one everybody wanted to be. Everybody took a piece from him, but you know, they could maybe try to do what he was doing, but you couldn't. You know, he had the songs. Van Halen had the songs. He looked like Eddie Van Halen. I mean, just the name Eddie Van Halen, just the coolest ever. You know. So, and here's that photo with Paul. Actually, I just found it. So that's Paul and I. That's NAMM show several years ago. Taylor Swift guitar player. Right there.
Cool.
That's him.
Very cool.
Huge Van Halen fan.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine that gig? My God, playing, you know, those just, oh my, yeah. I mean, it's a guitar player's dream.
Playing like any of those guys any of those dudes that trash, like, hey, that music sucks. Hey, dude, you'd be playing those gigs, you know? Nobody would say no to that. But the thing is, Paul, you know, and Paul, if you're watching, you know, he's super nice guy, and he's been there from the beginning with Taylor for years.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like overnight. She's been playing stadiums for like 10 years. Stadiums for 10 years. So that's their thing, but she's doing, you know. Did you see that? You know, every once in a while on Facebook or YouTube, you'll see that article that talks about how Taylor Swift is the next Eddie Van Halen, and Van Halen fans go nuts when they read that, but they don't even read it. They don't realize what they're talking about is how she's selling guitars. Her influence, you know, on as a musician is basically Eddie's influence on me when I was that age.
Yeah.
About wanting to be in music, wanting to do this. You know.
Unbelievable.
So it's the same. It's really the same, but on such a larger scale now.
Yep.
You know.
Monstrous.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see. I know we had said about an hour, and so we're almost there, but memorabilia. What?
Yes.
So you've been posting stuff on your Facebook pages, and looking to part with some just amazing items.
Exactly. So again, going back to this is circa '86. So I'm working on the book. So Edward said, yes, you can write the book, and we signed some little contracts, and I start interviewing people. And I must have asked him, I said, hey man, you know, can I go into the, you know, your offices and look through your files? And he said, yeah, do whatever you want, you know, go in there. He never came with me. And the offices were on Sunset Boulevard in a complex called the Berwyn Building. And so I remember going over that. I was there a few times. And I'd be like secretaries walking around, you know, I just like open stuff up, and it's like, I just take stuff. I don't know if I was supposed to or not. I wasn't going to ask. What's that whole thing, you know, take and then ask forgiveness as opposed to, asking and being told no. I mean, so a lot of this stuff that you see, a lot of this paperwork, contracts, and writers and inter-office correspondence is all stuff that I borrowed back in the day, and you see that stuff, and some of it, it's like 10 or 15 pages, so I'll only shoot, excuse me, like 1 or 2 pages. But I mean, it really gives you an insight as to how this stuff worked and how complex, really, a band at that level, what that organization was like. I mean, there's logs of phone calls and just, sorting out the Otto, the company who makes the backstage passes, sorting out the passes, and I have some templates which are amazing to see. For a tour, my God, and the cost of was unbelievable. And renting the trucks and the lighting rigs, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, they used to take, my God, they must have had like 30 people or 40 people on the road. Can you imagine what? It's just, the cost was just astronomical. So that's sort of all of that stuff. And then along the way, I just acquired collections of guitar picks, and the guitar picks are the first things I put up. And this is actually one of the few I have left, which I find really strange, because this is the rarest one I had. Maybe it's because it's also the most expensive. I don't know. I don't know if you can even see that at all.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
So it's like a tortoise shell pick, and it says Van Halen.
Tortoise shell block letters. And there's another version where Van Halen is one line. That pick is a $3,000 pick. This pick is a $1,500 pick. Why that one's more valuable? I don't know. I think it's a little older. But this pick is so cool. I'm just so tempted to keep it for myself. But if somebody makes an offer on it. So I just put all this stuff up there. And, we were talking earlier. I've had it, and I loved looking at it. I would pull it out and look at these contracts, and it would bring me back to those moments of going through the Van Halen office file drawers and hanging out with Edward. And, I thought, what, maybe it's time to let it go. Let other people kind of enjoy it. It'll bring back memories for them. Certainly people have seen, 5150 tour or a 1984 tour, all these passes, and, that will bring back all those nice memories for them. So, so I guess it's been about 2 or 3 weeks now. I put stuff up just about every single day. And it's been great. It's been fantastic. It's funny. A couple of people have well, actually more than a couple of people. Several people will make comments like, "Oh, cool," and "Oh, that's so cool," and it's like, "Yeah, it's cool. So stop looking at it and fucking buy something."
I'm one of those people that does that.
Yeah, he does. So
and I wish I could buy all that stuff.
Yeah, you wish. Come on. But then people write to me. They said, "Oh, is any of your stuff for sale?" And it's like, "Oh my God, what if I? Obviously that's on me." So I go, "Yes, all for sale." So I actually put up a specific post. Everything is for sale. Make me reasonable offers. But I just thought that was so funny. But man, there's some amazing stuff. So, and there's a really interesting story about this.
Oh, wow.
Signed. Sorry, guys, I can't.
There you go.
There you go.
There it is. There you go.
Right. Signed drumhead. 95. You can see BH95. So, I also post on a couple other sites. There's one called Van Halen memorabilia and something. Pretty big. I think it's got 2,000 or 3,000 members. And a lot of these sites, and I can understand that these are just sites to trade. So what I do, I'll reach out to an admin and say, "Hey man, I've got this stuff, and I was friends with Edward, and I wrote a book, blah blah blah, and hopefully they've heard of me on some level, so that would help, and this the admin there said, yes, yeah, we'd love to have that stuff, So I posted some stuff, and I put up the drum head because I think it really is cool. And again, it's another one of those things that I'm just tempted to keep for myself. But and the guy comes on, goes, yeah, really nice. Too bad it's not real. My first reaction is to email him, comment back to him and go, you're out of your freaking mind. I've never sold a fake item in my life. I never would. That's not who I am. I didn't say anything to him. I reached out to the guy who I had gotten it from. This guy was there. It was a gig in is it called Jones Beach, New York, right near the border of Canada, right?
Jones Beach. Yes.
This is a massive Van Halen collector. I mean, this guy is. He goes. They invited me down personally. Scotty Ross, who was like the tour manager or road manager, I forget. Sorry, Scotty. Had been with Van Halen for years. Personally invited him down. Hey, we're doing 3 shows. Come on down. At the end of the show, they they sign it. They give it to him in like the thin Remo drumhead boxes. He had given them like this pencil sketch he had done. They loved it. It went up in the 5150 studio. He was there. He saw it. I wrote back to this guy, and I said, "Listen, man, you're incorrect. The person I got it from was there. He saw it signed, and this guy maintained that that one person did all 4 signatures, and he puts up signatures that he has of the band. He goes, the band never signed like that in '95. He's a forensic expert all of a sudden. It's like, okay. I come back to him with this story. Listen, man, the guy was there, Jones Beach, Scotty Ross, in private invitation, backstage, sees him sign it. They hand it to him, thank him. They love him. I go back to him. He goes, so you believe everything that every person tells you, huh? So you're going to believe that? At that point, I realized there's nothing I could say. So I wrote back to him. I said, you're obviously more interested in you being right than the truth. And I left it at that. My first instinct again, and I'm getting better in my old age. My first instinct is, you dumb piece of, I am going to jeopardize my book, whatever my status is in the community, 50 years of writing, for a drumhead that I'm going to fake, and I'm going to try to take some. But they don't think like that. They think that they're smarter than you, and there's got to be something nefarious, and this guy really is trying to get one over.
It's Facebook. Everybody on there thinks they know everything.
Exactly. Just don't even get me started. So I reached out to the admin. Turns out I knew the admin guy because he actually ran, I think, the big Eddie Van Halen site. And I'd reached out to him for the Eddie Van Halen site. And I said, hey, man, because they don't allow anybody to sell stuff. But I reached out and said, hey, man, Steve Rosen. Oh, yeah, man. Listen, would you send a book to all the admin guys and we'll let you sell? I go, sure, man. So I sent them 5 or 6 books, and it's fantastic. So he actually, I think, was the admin for this other site. And I told him what was going on. He goes, oh, well, we can't have that. And 20 minutes later, this guy was barred. He's not on the site anymore. So there is justice in this world. But yeah, and when you try to approach some of these people with logic and being polite and professional, man, it is throwing a match on a glass of gasoline. There is nothing you can say, and it's hard to do, but you cannot even respond at all.
You'll never win.
Never.
It doesn't matter. Some people you just have to block. You just have to ignore. Let them. Yeah. I mean, imagine me. I put this phone number on the screen here. There's some people that call that number nonstop and just hang up. Some people that get mad at me. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of real weirdos, and I don't know why it is, but Van Halen, happens to have. There's some Van Halen fans out there that are real 5150s.
Yeah, exactly.
But you just got to be cool. Okay, cool. But the people that really know what's going on and really know, like, they'll tell you, yeah, that's real, or
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. Had somebody who I knew said, "Hey, man, I don't know about that one," it'd be like, "Oh my God," and had it turned out to be fake, I would have, taken it off immediately. But yeah, so that's the tale of the drumhead. What else we got? This is amazing. I think we talked about this.
Oh yeah.
So this is a cancel check, and I think what's the date on this?
Probably 83.
I think I may have pulled this from the filing cabinet. So this is a check from Edward, and this is his signature to his father, Jan. And if it's Jan, forgive me, I've never known the correct way. And on the back is Jan's signature. And,
wow.
Their two signatures may be on other items. I don't think I've ever seen one. So what I wanted to figure out, so the check is in the amount of $3,000. So what I was trying to figure out is maybe this was Jan's payment for playing on the Diver Down record. Somehow like it was a union scale thing, or I didn't know. But the years didn't match up, right? So I don't know. Maybe Edward was just helping out his dad for the moment. But I love this one.
Interesting.
Yeah. Pretty.
That's definitely legit. That's legit. I mean, just by seeing the signature, I can tell you.
Oh yeah. No, this is definitely legit.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is Edward's signature changed over the years.
Yeah, it has a little.
You would know this. I've been hanging out with him back in '77. Yeah. From '77, his signature, he used to write out Edward Van Halen. Like his signatures used to be like this long.
Yeah.
And then like I've got a friend of mine sent me a Different Kind of Truth album, and got him to personalize it for me. It says, "Hey Johnny," and then it says "All the best," and then it says Eddie Van Halen, and this was in 2016. And by that point, his signature was literally like this.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's one of the things, like you can tell, like people that are forging stuff, like you'll see like a huge Edward Van Halen across a Carnal Knowledge album, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
He wasn't signing, like that then. So there's ways that you can tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, well, Steve, we know that, you knew Edward and your book and stuff, and what you sell is legit." And I mean, it happens a lot that, they've run into people, again, we've talked about it, Johnny, selling autographs that just fake. They find some handwriting guy to copy it, and it goes beyond that. They'll bootleg backstage passes, which just, again, we talked about it. I don't understand. Look, I suppose if you're going to be a criminal, do it right? Forge a $1,000 autograph. Don't forge a $10 backstage pass.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
well, all that stuff nowadays, I mean, it's vintage stuff. It's like our memories of then. Like people want, the classic rock era now. Like they want things that they remember from when they were. Not everybody got to be Steve Rosen. Not everybody got to live, Although through your articles we did. We got to actually live through what you were doing and what you witnessed. But yeah, sure, there's people out there. Oh, I want a backstage pass from 1980. So there's some guy out there printing them off, making them. Oh, this is real, even though that looks a little too new.
Exactly. Exactly. And the other thing, on eBay, which is where a lot of people sell, because obviously eBay's got the biggest audience. You look at it, and a pass that's selling for $50, they're selling for $10. I go, how can that possibly be? Either they're stupid, they don't know, in which case I'll buy every pass they have for $10. Then you have to scroll way down, and one of the parameters of you fill out when you're selling something, original or reproduction, and down the bottom it'll say reproduction. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
You know, which is just kind of like a legit way of bootlegging, but at least they're owning up to it, you know. But anyway, so you know, so this is really interesting. So it's a VH3 record, and again, it's probably not the record that, you know, if you wanted a signature, probably wouldn't be on that record. However, what is cool is that the CD is signed and the booklet is signed. So there are two sets of signatures, which I mean, I'm sure it happened, but I thought that was pretty cool. You know, you don't see that a lot.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is cool.
Oh,
this is like some Japanese promo thing.
Japanese version. That's almost like a test sheet for the Japanese CD insert.
That's exactly what it is. And you look down here. That's kind of what that is. That's what I think. Oh, I'm sorry. And top. Yeah, that's like the color separation. Yeah, which is why I think that this is really amazing. That, you know, that they would have signed this as a, you know, Japanese version of it as well. So I thought that was pretty hip. In fact, hang on one sec. I'm going to show you something.
Yeah. You guys, this is cool. Smash that thumbs up. Smash that thumbs up, you guys. Wow. By the way, welcome. Hey. Holly, channel member. Steve knows exactly what's going on. He was there. Steve was there. You guys know this. Blake M.
So you're talking about... Sorry, Johnny.
There you go. Yeah.
So test this sheet. Is a test proof that China sent to me. So the books are printed in China, and then they send that to me to, you know, make sure everything is cool, and, you know, the blurbs on the back, everything was spelled right, and all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Wow.
This is pretty cool. This is like a test sheet of... Sorry.
Wow.
Pretty hip.
Yeah, the fair warning, all the different passes.
Yeah, exactly. And
all the different...
yeah,
each color is like a different tier, right? Like
it is.
Security.
It is, absolutely. And yeah, so right, backstage, after show, yeah, different backstage after shows. And then there's the vaunted all access, right? So, which Edward never gave me, but that's okay.
Did you see them on Fair Warning? You probably did.
I probably did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the tour. Most diehard fans of the Roth era, they say that's the tour that if they could get into a time machine, DeLorean, they would go to that tour. That's what most people say. That's
interesting because we were talking earlier, Johnny. I put up a bunch of laminates today, and there was a Fair Warning laminate, and 10 people. I want that. I want that. I want that. You know, which goes in the other thing we were talking about. It's like, okay, you know, it's, I forget what it was, $25 or $20. I you know, so send it to me PayPal, and then another guy wants it, you know, and I kind of tell him, and really, I mean, you know, it's kind of first come, first serve. I mean, you know, how else can you do it? You know, because you'll wait on somebody, and 3 hours later they'll say, oh, sorry, I got busy, and I'll send it tomorrow. So, you know, I try not to do that, but yeah, man, that Fair Warning pass. Yeah, if I had about 100 of those, I could, you know, I could retire here finally. But no, so, you know, you put up one. I actually had another one. It was a little different, but yeah, that Fair Warning. And you know, I mean, again, you know, you think about that period. I mean, Edward was more involved. You know, in tracking guitars, right? The overdubs are getting more complex, and you know, there's different guitar parts and different solo parts, and yeah, it all comes out. Yeah, that was an amazing record for sure. But yeah, and there's all the laminates and boxes of stuff and
yeah, look at that. Can we see that again?
All kinds of goodies,
There you go. Diver down.
Yeah.
Looks like 84. How many times a day do you see that Western Exterminator truck driving around? You see that all the time? I see them every day. We have them. We have their company here in Santa Cruz, not too far from me. So I see that truck all the time, and the 84 logo guy. That's what it is.
Yeah. That's funny. I think actually. Well, where I used to live up in the Hollywood Hills, I don't think they ever I don't think Exterminator trucks even ever went up there. But, I can remember when I was still living in Culver City, at home with my parents. I remember, I think they used to come by, Exterminator trucks. So there's all kinds of goodies, and again, it's all up there. And if anybody's interested, you can DM me there. Yeah,
See,
right.
That guy. Yeah.
Right. They must have asked permission to do that.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the Exterminator company saying no.
They no, for 84 they did that, and then but every Van Halen hardcore fan, they think of that as being a Van Halen thing, and they used to have like that mascot. His name is actually Mr. Little. That's what he's known. That's his name. Mm-hmm. Their trucks used to have like a figure on the back, and these Van Halen guys would rip those off. They'd rip those off the back of the trucks. Not me. I didn't do that, but
not JB. Not JB. A few more laminates.
Let's see. Wow. Us Festival. Were you there? Were you at that show?
Yeah.
P.S.
I don't know what that is.
Wow. Right Here, Right Now. That was a great tour.
This is pretty funny.
Pass? I don't need an effing pass.
I think it's a Van Halen, because it came, part of the Van Halen thing.
Wow.
The Van Halen 3. Oh, it's upside down. Sorry,
it's upside down. Van Halen 3. Yeah. Right Here, Right Now. Yeah. Yeah. I've never even seen some of those.
It's amazing how many there are. And the cloth passes, there's millions of, well, not millions, but hundreds. What is this? Does anybody know? Anybody out there know? Stump the crowd.
I've never seen that one. It's definitely Hagar era.
How do you know?
Because of the
logo?
The rings. Yeah, the logo, yeah. I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
Do you have the one with the Dalmatian on it? Do you have the one? There's one that has Edward and Valerie had a Dalmatian named Sherman. And there's a pass. I think it has Sherman and I think Ken Dean. Did you know Ken?
I did.
I think it's him and Sherman on the pass.
Wow.
Did you ever see that one?
It doesn't sound familiar. I've tried to reach out to Ken, actually. I don't even know if he's still around. But yeah, he lived in Big Bear, which right, which is about I don't know, 90 minutes from Hollywood, from wherever he lived, and he would just I think come in the morning and stay till late at night. Go home when there was no traffic, and then probably, show up like noon or something, But yeah, Ken was cool. It was great. Anybody know who this guy is?
Let's see.
it says Gary. I can't read his last name. Road Crew Drum Tech. Wozern Wolf. Can't make it out.
Huh.
So I think obviously all the crew had photo, kind of IDs and stuff. But yeah, some cool stuff.
Let's see.
Oh, and this is pretty cool.
Is that a hard rock cap?
Yeah. Maui.
Signed by the whole band?
Yeah.
Wow. What year? Do you know what year that was?
I do not. Sammy signed it, so
if Sammy's on there, then that could be 95.
95?
Possibly. I'm trying to find a photo of that, what I was just saying, the Ken Dean pass. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I've seen it, but anyway. Yeah, just such cool stuff.
Oh, Adam reminded me. Thanks, Adam. I put up an interview with Ken Dean on my YouTube channel.
I remember that.
Adam,
yeah.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, because Ken was a big part of that. Building 5150. I think Ken was an engineer guy, so he was part of that. And Holly has to tell me that my Wi-Fi is not the greatest tonight. Thank you, Holly. Oh, there we go. She puts it up. That's what I wanted to hear. Thank you. That helps.
We think we're talking to Steve Rosen. We can't really see it, but he kind of sounds like him.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
So there it is.
So let me get your let me put your Facebook page on the screen here, so people can head over there and they can check out what you have. There you go. There it is. Facebook.com/ToneChaserBook.
Excellent.
Click on that. Head over there. Send Steve a bunch of messages.
And then re-rock them to Johnny.
People do ask me all the time, actually, how to get a hold of you. I'm always hearing that, and I send them to your Facebook. Or we'll get questions. Like ask them this, ask them that.
Oh, that's great. And I wanted to say that if anybody listening does see something they like, and they mentioned Johnny Beane, I will charge you twice as much. No.
Oh.
I'll take care of you.
Right on. Uncle Raymond, has anybody gotten Alex's book? It's not available yet. Comes out later this month.
I think so.
That'll be interesting. Actually, there's a photo. I shared this out last night. There was a photo that appeared, which I guess not many people have seen it. It's of Alex and Edward when they were kids. So that's, yeah. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to the book, the audio book, that has the brand new unreleased track. You've probably heard clips of it.
Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure the book will be amazing. It's already a New York Times bestseller, so Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be great. It'll be very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, remember we were talking before, and I thought it was going to come out on October 6th. I mean, I could be entirely wrong, but I think initially it was coming out on October 6th, and it got pushed back. I think, yeah, I'm pretty
it is available, or it's coming out.
It's coming out. I think initially they were going to try to. I thought it said October 6th, which would have made sense, right? But I don't think they quite got it together.
Yeah. Holly says it's available October 22nd, and then I'm going to that event on the 24th.
Yeah.
So I'll be down there. Looking forward to get the book.
So are they giving you the book there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I understand is that Alex's signature is on a plate. A plate is basically, so I don't know if the plate will be adhered to the book, or the plate will literally be something handed to you that you can maybe peel off and put in your book. It will probably be inside the book, and usually has like a border. It was at Book Soup. Hunter Thompson, one of my favorite writers, was doing a signing, and it was all plates. He wasn't going to sit there and sign every book. These plates were already done, and there was like 2 or 3 different versions. One of them just said HST, Hunter Stockton, and I think I got that one. It's like, fuck that. I want Hunter Thompson, but, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. If anybody finds out, whether it'll actually be this little, it's almost like a little backstage pass. You just pull it off and you can put it on the inside of your book, or you could probably put it anywhere, or it may already be inside the book.
I would think that, like, you ever heard of MySpace? That's one of those sites we need to get you on MySpace too.
Is MySpace still around?
It is, but nobody's there.
You're making fun of me, aren't you, Johnny?
It's a ghost. It's a ghost. I'm still there. I'm on. Eventually, I'll have this show live on MySpace as well. We're gonna bring it back. But years ago, you know Andy Summers. Andy Summers from the Police. Years ago, he wrote a book.
Yeah.
And it's called One Train Later. Amazing book. And I won 2 copies off his MySpace page. Wow. And when I got them, basically there was a sticker inserted into the front page that had his signature on it. Right? So that's what the plate is, right? It's just like a sticker. Like he just signs like a whole bunch of stickers, sends them back to them, and they put them in the book like a sticker on the front page.
Exactly.
So the artist isn't actually opening each book and signing. No. Although at some signings they do that.
Yeah, they do. They do. I mean, but I think the way that this is set up, it's not really even a signing, right? It's more of a Alex is going to be talking to the author, and they'll do like a little conversation, and they'll probably take some questions from you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, and the money they're charging, I thought was really reasonable. It was like $50 for the book and a ticket or something.
It was something like a signed book and admission, and then if you couldn't be there in person, they're going to broadcast the event on the internet like a few days later with a signed book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's right, Holly. Yeah, Justin Timberlake bought MySpace years ago. I don't know if he still owns it, but it was pretty cool. MySpace.
Yeah, I remember MySpace. I had a MySpace page.
Did you?
Yeah. Somebody set it up for me. I mean, I couldn't figure it out.
I remember trying to get a hold of you when you first started putting your audios up on YouTube. This goes back like 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. I remember hearing those, and I remember messaging you saying, I think I told you this. I'm like, hey, my name's Johnny Beane, and long time, reader, and I never heard back. Like, I'm assuming you never got the message.
Assume right, Johnny.
So.
Well, you sent it to me. You sent it to my email, like I've been telling you for the last 15 years. Yeah. No, I would have gotten back to you in a second. In fact, you said you had one of the early ones that I did, right? You had the Rock Talk, right?
Rock Talk. Yeah, I still have them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. God, that was really early. I put together a few different. There was a Van Halen one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working with a guy, and he said, "Hey, man, put some little excerpts. We'll put it up." I thought it was an amazing idea. He did some nice little artwork, and I think I did a little text booklet for it. It was up like on Apple and that kind of, or iTunes.
That's where I got it. Apple. Yeah, iTunes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, cool.
Yep.
Dude, you guys, Steve Rosen, author of TONECHASER. And again, you want people going to your Facebook? You want people emailing you, right?
Honestly, I do, and if you do, I understand you put the messages up on Facebook. Well, listen, if you put a message up on Facebook, email me to tell me you put a message on Facebook, and I'll go answer you. Seriously, my email's the best way, and I put that on all the Facebook posts where I put up the stuff. SC Rosen at sbcglobal.net. But if you don't,
right
if I don't respond, it's because I didn't see it.
There you go, right there. SC Rosen at sbcglobal.net. So if you really want to get a hold of Steve, that's how you do it.
Exactly.
But make sure to like his pages too.
Absolutely. Whatever that means. And one other thing, if anybody's interested in the audiobook,
yes,
which I think is really amazing. I think you guys will love it. And I've embedded it with Edward's voice in all those interviews we did back in the day, and you can hear him noodling and him jamming with me, and Edward being afraid to play guitar after me because he was just so astonished by my prowess. But seriously, it's really cool, guys. And if you are interested, you can find that on my Soundwise, one word, .com. Oh, there you go.
There it is. Click on that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've been listening to it.
Have you?
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, it's just incredible stuff, and again, looking forward to seeing you, NAMM show in January. I mean, that's always such a great time.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'll be there with Tris Mahaffey Amps. I don't know if you know them, Johnny. Go check them out. Mahaffay. He's like a one-guy operation, and he builds them. Turns out he lives literally 15 minutes away from me in Orange County here. And these amps are great, really fantastic. So we're going to be sharing a table, and it's going to be great. Yeah, so you'll come by, you'll demo some amps, you'll demo some guitars, you'll take some pictures, you'll take some video.
It'll be awesome.
Multimedia, man.
Multimedia. Yeah, NAMM invited me again this year.
That's great.
So it's
going to be pretty big this year. All those big box companies are going to be there at this time. Fender and Gibson and Marshall, Yamaha, all the big drum companies who weren't there. Should be a pretty crazy scene, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's always crazy. I mean, it'll never be as crazy as it was back in the day when you were there with Van Halen, but
never. No. Those were crazy days. You'd walk in, and it wouldn't matter if Stevie Wonder was there, Jeff Beck. I suppose if Mick Jagger or Paul McCartney was there, they might have caused a bigger uproar. As soon as we'd walk into a main hall, it's like, Edward's here, Edward's here, And it was like and I try to describe it in the book. It's like the Pied Piper. We're walking and there's 5 people behind us, and there's 10, and then there's 100. And by the time he gets to the Kramer booth, it's just insanity. It's just amazing, man. It was really unbelievable. I mean, you're in a room full of musicians, and of great musicians, and everybody else just became invisible. Pretty amazing. And he was uncomfortable with it. He didn't get much out of it, I didn't feed him in any way, and he only went down there because he was obligated to, and sign some pictures and get drunk, but
I heard he didn't. He was very uncomfortable in crowds. Like he didn't like the crowds, but I mean that's part of the deal. You have these guitars, this music. You show up and make an appearance, sign some stuff, and made some kid's day. Getting to meet him, or
Yeah.
So cool, man.
Yep.
All right. Any last words? I know we had said an hour. We're a little over an hour, but
that's cool, man. That's cool. No, that's good, man. That's fun, and check out the memorabilia. If you guys see something you want, we'll figure it out, and go check out the audiobook, and tell all your buddies about the TONECHASER book.
There you go. There you go, man. Okay, don't hang up. We'll say goodbye off the air. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you again to our channel members here on Johnny Beane YouTube station. Thank you again, you guys, for your continued support for this channel. And Michael B. and Bay Area Rich, I will have your guys' names on that intro card. I just, gotta, what it's like running a website, and we need more interns, Eventually robots will take over the world anyway. We'll have them working we'll be working for them, but all right, you guys. Here, I'll leave you guys with a couple channel IDs from somebody. Actually, can I get a quick channel ID?
Absolutely.
Can you say, this is Steve Rosen, author of TONECHASER, and you're watching Johnny Beane TV?
Hey, everybody, this is Steve Rosen, rock and roll journalist, and you are watching Johnny Beane TV. Peace.
Thank you so much. There we go. Well, here's some deja vu. Thank you, Steve. Don't hang up. Bye-bye, you guys.
See you guys.
You guys, Steve Rosen, what do we have here? We got 78 people watching.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Nice. Where are you people? You should have been here. I can't do this by myself.
Right on. Can I get this is Steve Rosen, you're watching Johnny Beane TV.
Hey, everybody. This is Steve Rosen, you're watching Johnny Beane TV. Hey!
Yeah. Thank you, man.